second, I'm connecting my audio. Give me just a second. Can you hear me okay?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the official Sundance Scout Results Twitch live stream. I am Taylor Gledhill, your director of social media, and this, over to your left, but right in front of me, the illustrious Jeff Annison, president of Legion M, wizard of Scout, the fantastic
Scout leader, I think,
master
or
of
like
apps.
grand poobah of Scout is actually my preferred title.
Yes. We need to get you a Poobah pin. Thank you for joining us,
and a
everybody.
hat?
Oh, yeah, a hat. an extreme hat.
Yeah, with like, like a Fred Flintstone with like the horns and
Yes.
the big, giant
Yeah.
grand poobah hat.
Exactly. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate you jumping in on your work day or just around dinner time if you're out on the East Coast. Thanks for jumping on Twitch with us, or if you've stumbled upon us on YouTube or on Facebook, thanks for joining us here as well. We're trying to reach everybody in as many places as we can. And today is all about Scout, you guys. Today is all about Film Scout, the Film Scout app, the results, and the long-awaited crowning of Scouts, elite and otherwise. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, because otherwise you're just going to listen to me talk about stuff that I don't know, because I don't have the answers. Jeff has the answers. He's got all the results. So Jeff, why don't you tell us about Scout?
The results are flowing through my eye. I'm seeing them like the Matrix before me. It's funny because there's actually a fair amount of just manual checking and working to get these results. I mean, to be honest, it's kind of ridiculous that it's middle of May and we're just finally releasing the results, but it's because of the fact that we actually treat this really scientifically. I think what's really cool about Film Scout is at its core, it's a game. And, I love the fact that it's a game and that people care about the results. And, but it's much more than that, because it's also the tool that we use to harness the wisdom of the crowd from people. So I feel like it's just this really cool amalgamation.
I believe.
Amalgamation, yes, of something
let us know.
that is like a game that could be like an iPhone game, but at the same time is also providing meaningful data and results that is charting the course of Legion M and the film industry, which I think is super, super cool. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much on the horizon too, which I'm excited about, because Sundance is typically the Scout, the haven for Scout, but there are other possibilities as well that we may get into down the road.
Yeah, it's true. I think we're going to talk about that a little bit once we kind of get moving. But, so did you prep those polls, Taylor, that we talked about?
I have the polls. They are not quite as preppable as you might think, but I can begin using them in just a second. Hold on. Let's see if I show you guys my calendar or not. Ha! Yes, I picked the right window. We're doing a display capture, so you never know. Sometimes I've got windows open on this screen, and you guys would know exactly what I'm up to for the rest of the week. I will get that poll up. Which would you like to begin with?
So the first thing I'd like to know of the audience that we've got out there, how many people have used Film Scout? Like how many people participated in the 2021 Film Scout versus people that are maybe new investors, new to Film Scout? I know there's a lot of people that have signed up in Film Scout since the last, since Sundance, like post Sundance. And so I'm just curious to know how many people are fluent with what Sundance is and where people are coming from.
Amazing. This poll is now on Twitch. Thank you everyone for joining us again on Twitch or otherwise. If you are not on Twitch, however, then you will not be able to participate in this quick 2-minute poll. Feel free to join us over on legionm.tv, which is our official Twitch channel. That is legionm.tv or twitch.tv/legionmofficial. That one's a little bit longer. The redirect is a little bit easier to remember. But if you're on a different platform like Facebook or YouTube, feel free to just shout out yes or no in the chat, and I'll factor that in as well. But the poll is on Twitch right now.
And we do have people standing by on all those platforms to funnel us questions. So if you've got questions, we want to make this as interactive as possible. And so just go ahead and drop them in the chat wherever you are. Like Taylor said, if you can come to Twitch, that's probably the easiest way. And you can participate in the polls and all that sort of stuff. And I'll be monitoring that. But go ahead and pop your questions in and we'll be chatting it up.
So there's another whole minute to fill before this poll is.
Oh, does it take 2 minutes? Wow.
It doesn't.
Taylor,
I let it go for 2 because I figured it might take time for people to think, did I do Film Scout this year? Did I not? Sometimes I don't even remember what I ate for breakfast. So you never know. Especially with this being such a weird year, Jeff. We didn't actually go to Sundance this year in person. Nobody did. It was all online. And I'm curious to know how that affected the results, because I don't know, you would know probably better than I do, but was it more available than usual, Sundance, or was it sort of as you know, I don't want to say locked up or difficult, but was it still difficult to view films even if you were remote this year? Because the festival was remote.
I think, well, I mean, it was much easier than it's ever been to view films because you didn't have to go to Park City, you didn't have to deal with travel, you didn't have to deal with snow, any of that sort of stuff. And so, in a lot of ways, this was the most accessible Sundance ever for people. I watched a ton of Sundance films, mostly over the weekend. It's primarily that first weekend, and on my couch in my pajamas, and so it was pretty epic, actually, in that regard.
I loved going to Sundance in reality and wearing pajamas, and everyone was like, "Whoa, that's a choice that guy made."
Yes.
So we have the
Yes.
poll results in. Overwhelmingly and unsurprisingly, some might say, it is mostly yeses to have you used Film Scout before. We have about, out of the 36 individuals on Twitch who participated in the poll, 33 or 92% say yes, 8% or 3 others say no. So welcome to those who've never used Scout before either. It's an app you can download right now, and it's pretty exciting. It allows you to use your phone to tell us what films to get involved with at Sundance.
Yeah, good. Well, so because of the fact that there's so many people who are fluent with it, I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time talking about how it works. We do have a short 2-minute intro video. It's 2 minutes, right, Taylor?
I believe so.
All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and just run that, and we'll use that as kind of the backgrounder for the people here, because, like I said, there are a lot of people I know from looking at the database. There's a lot of people that have signed up for Scout, but it might be because they invested after Sundance or that sort of thing. So why don't you go ahead and roll that, and then we'll just use that as kind of the background, and then we'll get into this year's results.
Absolutely. So if you're interested in Scout, don't know what Scout is, or just looking for some interesting information on how we've used Scout, please enjoy this quick video.
Legion M is all about figuring out ways that we can harness the power of the fan community. I can think of no better example than our Film Scout program. If you're not familiar with Film Scout, it's an app that we have on iOS and Android that allows all of our investors to help us choose the film that we're going to partner with or even acquire at Sundance.
It's like Tinder, but for Sundance.
Yeah, we did it the first time 2 years ago at Sundance, and we ended up choosing Memory, The Origins of Alien. We partnered with a company called Screen Media, and we literally bought the distribution rights for that film. So that film we got 2 years ago, and like I said, it was all based on the data from the Film Scout app. Now, the way that this works, it's super cool because it's designed to be a way for us to harness the wisdom of the crowd, but it's also designed to be a game that's fun for you. The way that we do it is we took all the films at Sundance, there were 128 this year, and we consolidate as much information as we can. The plot line, the cast, the crew, the IMDb links. And so we aggregate all that into one place and we present it to you. We present it 2 at a time. And we ask you to rate and evaluate both of the films on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. We ask you to choose, if they were both playing at the same time, which one would you watch? All of that information comes in and is data that we use. And that's all opinion-based data. Your opinion is exactly as valuable as mine or anybody else's. The second thing, though, that we do, and this is where the game comes in, is we also ask you to predict how you think everybody else playing the game is going to rate these films. And that's something that we can grade. So when you play Film Scout, we actually, when it's all done, we release a score and you can see exactly where you stack up in the leaderboard of thousands of people around the world that were playing the game, how you stack up as a Film Scout. And not only that, but we invite the cream of the crop, like the top 5% of our scouts get invited to join our Elite Scout program. And that means that they get access to other scouting opportunities in the future. So it's a great way to, for us to give our fans, our community, a voice in what we're doing. They're literally selecting the films that we're going to get involved with. but B, it also allows us to harness the wisdom of the crowd, so that it's not my opinion versus Paul's and Terry's and David's. It's literally thousands of people around the world, and we think it allows us to make better, smarter decisions for us and all of our shareholders.
And we are back. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you got a little taste of Scout. Those were shot over a couple of years, I think, 2 or 3 years. Some of that footage was from 2018, 2019, and then perhaps even 2020, right before the whole thing happened.
I saw some comments, and so we've done Film Scout at Sundance now. This is the 3rd year running. This is the 2nd year on the app. The first year was just a website that we created that was super janky, but worked. But I did see someone talking about they'd done it for 4 years, and that actually is true, because we did Film Scout prior to that. We did it at Fantastic Fest. I think the very first time, the very first year. I mean, we were tiny then. So if anybody here scouted Fantastic Fest, that would have been like 2017 or 2018 probably. Then that's we should have like a special badge for that.
That would be cool. Yeah, an original Scout badge.
Those are the OG Film Scouts.
Yes, 100%. So why don't we talk a little bit about Sundance in general, and just how it was different this year, how it's been in previous years, and how Scout kind of applies to the whole thing.
Yeah, so we're going to get to the scores in a little bit, but before we do that, we thought that it might be useful and interesting to kind of share how this ends up looking from our side. And so, like you saw in the video, and like we always talk about, the real power of Scout is the fact that it gives you the shareholder, the company, a literal voice in the direction, and it gives us data that we find immensely valuable. And like I said when we first started, we treat this very seriously. The last couple of years, the last 2 years, we have had an MBA, a business school MBA from Kellogg. Paul's a professor there, and so we've been able to get interns the past couple of years that have come in. And so these are like super smart statisticians, and people that are getting in the middle of getting their MBA, that come in specifically to help us analyze the data and calculate the results and the scoreboards that we'll be releasing. And so, you guys go through and do the ratings, and particularly the matchups, where you get to see the information for both movies, and you tell us which one you would prefer to watch, which is your opinion, and which one you predict that other people will like. And we use that data. I mean, we get the most votes there because obviously, anybody can do this from literally anywhere in the world. And that's data that we have typically going into the festival, which is immensely valuable, because for us, approaching the festival from a business development standpoint, all we know is that there's a ton of movies there. There were 64 this year. It was smaller because of COVID. Last year there were 128. And so even doing the preliminary analysis to figure out like which ones should we focus on is really difficult and super subjective, right? Because I can go through and look at them all and have my opinion, but using that data is immensely valuable. And so as we are choosing what films we're going to watch, deciding who we're going to reach out to, who we're going to meet with, focusing our efforts, the stuff that is doing well in Scout gets pushed to the very top of our radar. And so every year that we've done it, that has been something that literally will determine who we meet with. and who we talk to. And in 2021, we had an advantage because of the fact that we've got so many distributor partners that we've worked with. We worked with Screen Media. That's who we partnered with to buy the rights for Memory of the Origin of Alien. Last year, we worked with Bleecker Street. They're the ones that picked up Save Yourselves, and we got a stake in that film by working with them on the release. We also have a bunch of other distributors that we work with, everybody from Fox Searchlight to Relativity and Neon and those are the ones that we've worked with, and there's others that we've had discussions and we just haven't found the right project. So it's really powerful for us because, like I said, the stuff drives it to the core, and then we talk with people. And so one of the ones that landed on our radar this year was Coda. And I don't know how many of you follow Sundance, but Coda was like the breakout hit of Sundance this year because it was the opening night film. Massive. And then Apple bought it. How much did they buy it for? Do you remember, Taylor?
I don't remember, but I'm willing to speculate.
Hold on one second.
I think it was...
I'm looking it up right now.
I'm going to guess. I think it was 12 million. It might have been 20. I think it had a 2 in it and a lot of zeros. So...
yeah, so the correct answer is 25. So it does have a 2 in it. It's got a lot of zeros.
Let's see who was right in the chat. Michelle P. Carter, of course, nailed it.
Of course,
25
yeah. Oh
million.
my gosh.
That was right. Let's see. Oh, also Tina is Legion M, also got 25 million. Let's see who else. Mart, I think that says Mart List. Mart List put in how many dollar signs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's, I think, one figure more. No, wait, no, that would be the right amount. No, wait, hang on. A 7-figure deal is a million. So an 8, yeah, $1 sign too many. One factor.
$1 sign too short.
One factor off. Yeah. That's a heck of a lot of money, though, for an independent project.
Well, yeah. And I mean, that's what's amazing about Sundance. Like, that's what Sundance represents, is the fact that I don't know any of the economics behind that film. I've seen it. It's amazing. We're actually going to play a short clip from it to kind of let everybody, if you're not familiar with it, this is just a 2-minute spiel from the director. So why don't we go ahead and run that, Taylor? And then I think we can kind of talk about the impact.
Let's roll the clip.
Hi, my name is Sean Hader, and I am the director of Coda, which is premiering in the U.S. dramatic competition of the 2021 Sundance Festival. The story is about 17-year-old Ruby Rossi. The Rossis are a fishing family in Gloucester, Massachusetts. When she's not in school, Ruby is working out on the boat with her father and brother.
Good, new one.
CODA stands for Child of Deaf Adults, and Ruby is the only hearing person in her family.
What you both have is jock itch. Avoid sex for 2 weeks.
The Rossis are a very tight-knit family, and they pretty much do everything together. But they're finding themselves in a predicament where their livelihood is being threatened. Ruby finds refuge in her relationship with her choir teacher.
You can sing.
It's my favorite thing.
What are you doing next year?
Working with my dad.
And she finds herself torn between her own ambitions and her fears that she's abandoning her family. film is really about that moment in life when you have to separate from the people you love and figure out who you are outside of your childhood identity. We hope you watch the movie, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Sundance.
Sundance.
Amazing. That film looks so good. I have not seen it yet. Did you watch it, Jeff?
I did. So I watched it, and some of us at Legion M watched it when it played because it was the opening film of the festival. I saw somebody saying like it really set the bar high, and that was 100% the case. You know, it's like throughout the rest of it, you're like, you know, it's always hard when you walk in and the first thing is amazing. But so the Legion M kind of, you know, story behind this is, you know, we saw this movie. It was on our radar because it had done well in the preliminaries of Film Scout, and then we watched it at the same time, you know, that everybody else was watching it, and the film was amazing. And so we're chatting back and forth. We're looking at the real-time Scout results from people that are submitting their reviews that watched it, and you know, the results were good, and we're like, this is awesome, and you know, let's reach out. And we reached out to one of our partners and said, hey, and he said, yeah, you know, we just saw it, and you know, like let's, anyway. Then he got back to us 15 minutes later and he said, well, the problem is that our top bid was 12 million and they're already past that. And so it wasn't until I think it was the next day, you know, like the evening of the next day, that the announcement came out that Apple had bought the film for 25 million. So, you know, the Film Scout worked, like it worked perfectly. It's just, we're not big enough yet to be a player in that sort of realm. And, you know, even if we were big enough, there's this really interesting kind of balance when it comes to films and this sort of thing, because there's the art of the film. Is it an amazing film? And then there's the economics and the business of it. And is it a wise thing for Legion M to get involved with? And so, you know, like for Apple, it's probably worth 25 million. You know, if Legion M were to, you know, do it, it would depend on who we're partnering with to distribute it. But, you know, like that might just not be a smart deal for us because of the fact that our economics are different. And, you know, we've got, you know, Apple's probably trying to fill a hole. Apple's trying to augment their streaming service. I mean, if you think about it, every single streaming service out there is battling right now to be the last one standing, right? Because there's Netflix out there and Disney Plus, and like those are pretty established. Like everybody's pretty sure that those two ones are going to be around 5 years from now, but everybody else is still duking it out to figure out who's left. And so a lot of these companies are probably making strategic bets, knowing I'm going to lose money over the next couple of years, but at the end of the day, if I'm able to be one of the last streaming services standing, that'll be something that I can make money on for the next, you know, 50 years. And so, you know, they're taking the long view like that. But anyway, so that was just like a very real example that is very relevant. And like I said, I mean, that's what's wonderful about Sundance. This film comes in. I saw somebody say that it was like a $10 million budget. And so the fact that it's sold to Apple for 25 million is a home run. And I don't know how the economics of Apple's streaming deals work. Like, are they buying? I assume they're probably buying worldwide. You know, I don't know what the time period is, but at the end of the day, like that's kind of what Sundance and what independent film is all about. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so that's. Sorry, what's that, Taylor?
I was just gonna toss in there that you know, a couple of questions and or comments from the chat here. We've got Ryan Steinbach saying, should have trailers for the films in Scout in a future update. I know it's a little bit off the topic of Coda, but I did like it. I thought it was interesting, and I would be curious what would that take to add some trailers to the Scout app, assuming that they are even available at the time that they would be at their festivals.
That is a great question. And the answer is, like, the Scout app actually already supports trailers, but the problem is that so few of them have trailers. In fact, even today, I was going around, I looked for a trailer for Coda. It does not exist. Like, I was able to find that little clip. And there's a couple others. Of the 5 or 6 films that I was looking at, only one of them had a trailer. And so, like now, today, 3 or 4 months after Sundance. The best story that I've got for that, I'm sure you guys have heard me, some of you have heard me say this before, is when we were there with Mandy, we went there to premiere Mandy in 2018. And in that case, the film was so raw and so fresh that the editors flew it from an editing bay in Belgium to a Starbucks parking lot in Park City to hand it to the projectionists so that they could play it that night at the theater. And so most of these films are just completely raw. And it's definitely like, I've seen a couple comments, like it is really hard to evaluate films that way. I mean, we're basically asking you to judge a book by its cover, but that is also really relevant information because it's the exact same information that you have if you're scrolling through Netflix or Amazon. Like, this is how people make decisions about what they're going to watch. And so, for us, it's a really critical half. On one half, there's the question of what are they interested in seeing? And then the other one, obviously, is finding what people like. And for the people that get to watch the films, how those rate. And it's kind of the balance of the two is what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
So
one last question before we move on. Cher Davis was curious about what the upper limit for the films Legion M wants to get involved with is. Is that something we can disclose, or is that something that's sort of case by case?
Well, it's case by case, and it's something that changes pretty dramatically over time. If you look at our business model over the past 5 years, because we're now over 5 years old, and the amount of money that we have for investments has, in a lot of ways, gotten larger. But frankly, the amount of money that we need to invest and the way that we invest has changed. Some people think that when we talk about, finding ways to invest in entertainment and films, that it's about writing a check in order to invest money in the film or to purchase the rights, the distribution rights. And, in some cases that is part of it, and that can be part of it, but it can also be things like acquiring IP. There's a couple books, The Emperor's Blades, the book Gray Area, are some that we've announced, Ghosts of Manhattan, where our investment in that project is acquiring the IP. And now we are working to develop it and hopefully sell it to a streamer or a studio or something like that. And so, there's a myriad of ways that we invest in projects. To be honest, writing a check is probably right now, I mean, certainly the minority. Like it's one of the least frequent ways that we do it. And I think that's because of the fact that as we've grown and as we've been testing stuff and trying stuff, we're finding that there's just so many other ways that are more effective for us to get involved with films. So short answer is we can get involved with films that, we could get involved with a Marvel movie if Disney was willing to work with us. Like there's a way to do that. And we've done business models where we've partnered with studios like we did in Tolkien. But for now, we're just trying to kind of level up, and the level of projects that we do over time should hopefully be growing. So that was a really kind of long-winded non-answer to your question, but it's because of the fact, like, there isn't an answer. It's not like, 10 million or 5 million, like there's a number. We're just very, I think, savvy about how we use our money, and we're very scrappy as a startup. We just don't have that much money. We've raised $12 million total in our entire history over 5 years. And so, there's no way that we could afford to spend, $25 million on a movie.
Makes sense. So what are some of the other movies that came out of Sundance 2021 that the Scout app sort of fluffed to the top? The industry term.
Yeah, so there's some more, but I do want to be mindful of everybody's time, and I know that a lot of people are here for their scores.
Ooh, fair enough. Fair enough.
And so I think what we should do is we've got a couple more trailers, and we've got a couple more kind of stories where I'd be happy to share kind of the inside or the behind the scenes of like how Legion M was pursuing it and kind of what our interest was. Like I tried to pick some examples that I think are representative of the different ways that we could potentially participate in Sundance in the future. I will tell you this, we do not have a film coming out of Sundance this year. It broke our streak. The previous, 2 years ago, we did Memory, the Origins of Alien, where we bought the North American distribution rights in conjunction with Screen Media. Last year, we did Save Yourselves with Bleecker Street. This year, it was a very different festival. They only had half of the films, and the films that were playing, a lot more of them were spoken for. Just kind of the dynamics of COVID. There was a real dearth of new film, right? Because production, shut down last March. And so here we were in January, it'd been almost a year with no film production. And so, the people that had a finished film was an extremely valuable commodity. And so what we found was that coming into Sundance this year, a lot more stuff was spoken for already, and in a way where it was probably, too late for us to get involved. So we don't have a project. There is one that we pursued pretty hard, and I'll talk about that after. But why don't we break and give the people what they're looking for, which is the scores.
Some scores. That's yeah. Let's get to it. I wish I had some music queued up, but I don't. So.
I know. We need the 2001 Space Odyssey music.
To be honest, I do actually have that, but I don't want to subject people to that train wreck.
Well, and it doesn't work if we don't have an enormous trophy. So, okay. So as far as the scores go, the way the scoring works is everybody, there's kind of two elements to the score. There's a participation score, which is based on how many films that you rate and evaluate. And we set the threshold this year was 40, meaning that in order to qualify for Elite Scout status, you needed to do at least 40 films. And the reason that we do that is to try and achieve some level of statistical significance, right? If you rate one film and you get it right, you're at 100%, and that obviously is very different than somebody that's rated 40 films and is at 90%. And so there's a participation score, and then on top of that, there is an accuracy score, where the accuracy score determines effectively what your hit rate is. Like, how good are you at predicting what everybody else is going to think? And this is a section of the scoring that we've spent a lot of time on, and it's kind of interesting because we ended up with a sliding scale on this accuracy score, because we wanted to recognize that, the matchups are all assigned randomly. And so, statistically, over the thousands of people that do this, everything, it works, like it's viable, like it makes sense. But, there's also, if you're looking at individuals, did somebody win this year? Like, were they the number one score because of the fact that they're a really good scout, or did they get lucky with their matchups, right? Because there's some matchups that are really easy, and there are some matchups that are really, really hard. And the way that we ended up resolving it's actually a little bit counterintuitive, is you actually get more points when you get the easier questions right, which most people are like, wait a second, like that's backwards. It should be the other way. But the whole thinking behind it is, say you get pitched a Will Ferrell movie versus a foreign language documentary about the industrial processing plant in, Slovakia, right? Like that's a clear winner, right? And as a film scout, if you get that right, like that's kind of table stakes, but if you get that wrong, then, you haven't done a great job as a scout. And so if you contrast that with two films that are almost identical, right? One of them is rated 4.1 and one of them is rated 4.11, right? So like at that point, honestly, it's anybody's guess. It's really just a toss up. And so if you get that one right, it's probably because you're lucky, because there's no signal that you can use. The fact, nobody is predicting at that accuracy. So we've worked a lot, especially over the past couple of years, to try and refine our statistical analysis and the way that we evaluate these, and make sure that we're rewarding people that are doing a good job scouting as opposed to people that are getting lucky. So anyway, our results, I think, are getting tighter and tighter. And we have, every year, as you know, we give everybody a score based on those two factors. Then we give everybody a ranking based on that. So you can see, did you come in first or did you come in, whatever. And then we also, we break you into categories. So the top 5% gets elite status. And I think at this point we have a couple hundred over the 3 years. I think it's 180 if I'm not mistaken, elite scouts. And there is a very small subset of that that have gotten elite twice. So that means 2 times out of these 3, they have gotten they have been in the top 5%, which is pretty convincing. And this year, because it's the 3rd time, we have our first ever triple elite scouts. And so I'd like to go ahead and, without further ado, Taylor, I don't know if you want to do a drum roll, but why don't we reveal our first ever Legion M triple elite scouts?
All right, hold on 1 second. Keep stretching, Jeff. Keep stretching.
I'm just going to let the anticipation mount.
All right, first up, we have, there we go. Okay, ready. And first up, our first of 2 only ever triple elite scouts. We've got Mr. John Biscardi. John Biscardi, congratulations, 3 years in a row. Elite scout, 3 years in a row.
Is pretty incredible. And I love the fact, it's funny, my wife was on Facebook today and she's like, oh, John Biscardi says he's nervous about the Film Scout results. And she thought that he was joking and being like ironic. I'm like, no, he actually probably is nervous because there's a lot on the line. But John, I'm proud to say, and I'm happy to say that you made history as one of the first 2.
All
so
right. But there
with
are
that
2.
said, there are 2.
There are 2 individuals who, for 3 years running, have achieved elite scout status. And the next one is Taylor Gledhill. Just kidding. I haven't been with the company long enough. Okay, the real second one is John Grievous. Congratulations.
John Grievous. Congratulations to John. Apparently you need to be John in order to become an elite scout, or at least it helps. But is the image up for that one, Taylor?
Yes.
Okay,
both,
good.
Or at least Mr.
Yeah,
Grievous.
it is. Yeah, there it is. No, sorry, that was my bad. I was looking at the wrong window. So, John, congratulations to you. Again, I mean, what a remarkable feat. So this is 3 years in a row. So again, just to set the table, I was talking about this earlier with somebody today, but Hollywood is driven by largely by individual decision makers, right? If you think about it, so much of these $100 million deals and what we get to watch and what gets made and what gets released and bought comes down to individual decisions from Hollywood executives at studios. And some of those people have earned those positions by virtue of their ability to, predict results. Some of them is likely because of politics or money or, luck or happenstance, or something like that. I mean, it's like, it's kind of, if you think about it, it's like it's kind of like the Summer Olympics, but you don't necessarily get to know who wins the race, right? And so if somebody gets promoted to the head of the studio, they make a bunch of decisions, and then you find out, oh wow, this person actually isn't that great at making these decisions. But our whole philosophy, like this is a theory that we've had, is that the best person, like everybody's got an opinion, but some people have their finger on the pulse and may be better at picking. And like literally the savant, greatest of all time selector of movies literally might be someone that just like lives in Des Moines, Idaho, and has like a regular job and has never had any association with Hollywood. And they don't know that they're the fastest sprinter in the world because they've never been given the opportunity to race. And I think that that's what's so interesting about Film Scout. And what we're hoping to do is to establish over time, you can become elite once, and maybe that's because you're amazing, maybe because you got lucky that year. To get it twice, I think, is pretty remarkable. To get it 3 times in a row, I think, is absolutely outstanding. So again, to both John Biscardi and John Grievous, thank you. We want to continue, working with you guys, developing, cultivating your natural talent, and give you more opportunities to weigh in on our projects. And so with those said, I would like to also, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because I don't have like graphics or anything like made up for this. Is that okay, Taylor?
Yeah, go for it.
So we also, in addition to this, let me just make sure I've got this right here. I'm going to share with you, I'm just sharing the Google Sheet right now. And in just a moment, I'm going to share the actual sheet where anybody can go and check your own stuff. But we have, let me share my screen.
I would just like to point out for the record that Des Moines is in Iowa, not Idaho.
That's exactly what I meant.
Just for clarity in the chat.
Thank you, Taylor. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome, and it's the Google Sheet and not like my, my PIN codes and social security number. Okay, so these are our new crop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Actually, Rob Tuhoy was an elite last year, and for some reason, he wasn't able to participate this year. But so we have 8 additional elite scouts. And so I recognize this one. This is Greg Greason from Brentwood, California, is now a double elite. I know Angela Joseph. I've been to meetups with her in Denver, Colorado. The other names here, I recognize some of the names. I don't know that I've met you before. If I have, please forgive me and reach out. But Frank K, T. Jaden, Alchemist, Will Barrett, J.M. Pendergraph, and C. Surratt. You guys are all double elites. And not only that, but 3 of you, let me just pull this up real quick. 3 of you, which is T. Jaden, Will Barrett, and C. Surratt, Tuscaloosa, Cedar Hills, Utah, San Antonio, Texas, are double elite first try, meaning that you did not participate in 2019. You probably joined Legion M after, so 2 years in a row, 2 elite statuses in a row. You are 2 for 2. And again, I think that that's a promising start to what is hopefully a long and illustrious career. So John and John, don't get too comfortable because there are a lot of people nipping at your tails. All of these people, watch these names because they are all looking to join you in the Triple Crown Club. Awesome. So with that said, let me just, this is the official results. And let me do this. I'm going to post this link in the Twitch chat, at which point I assume everybody is going to stop paying attention, which is totally fine, and look yourself up. But there, it is in the Twitch chat. If somebody can also please post that in the Facebook live chat and YouTube and all that sort of stuff. Oh, wow, we got Inception going on.
Yeah, I was about to say, we're getting infinite mirrors now.
Anyway, so this is the score page. So you can see we've got 4,319 people total in the system right now. Right now, the default scoring is the 2021 score. So our number one player in 2021 was SL Block from Brooklyn, New York. You can see Greg Greason. Dude, you came in number 2 this year. You were the second place of everybody that participated this year. It was over 1,000 people. I don't remember the exact number. Brian G, Douglas A. I don't, like, again, it's tough, especially this year. So we've got like a name for everybody. Like, we didn't want to put everybody's full name in here because like it might be weird. Like, you know, some people don't like that, and we totally respect that. There's also in the app. So this is a combination. Remember, we've got people that joined via the app. We've got people that have joined 3 years ago based on the website. But in the app, it allows you to put in a nickname, which this is even worse. Like, I've got no idea who these people are based on the nicknames. I recognize Leisha Davis. Anyway, you can go through here. You can look it up. We've got your 2019 and 2020 status. So you can see this person, they were brand new. So the person that won Film Scout 2021 was literally brand new. They had never participated before, as was this 5th place person here. And if you click on any one of these headings, you can sort by it. So if we want to look at the career score, these are all the people that have signed up and haven't had a chance to play yet, all the people with like a 0 career score. But if we sort it here, you can see John Biscardi, number 1, less, like a little bit over 100 points behind is John Grievous. Aaron Wood is in 5th place. I've met him before. Dean Hockey, I know Dean, I've met him many times. Gregory Greason, Steph, Leisha, yeah, I mean, all these guys. So so it's there. You can do it. You can sort it by whatever you want. If you want to just focus it on the elite scouts, you can filter it up here with this filter. And if you want to search your name, I don't know. Did you even do Film Scout this year, Taylor?
It's going to be so embarrassing. I don't know if I actually hit my 40. Because I don't have any good excuses.
Yeah, it's tough for the Legion M folks because so first of all, nobody at Legion M counts, right? None of the full-time staff counts. Not that anybody has any special access or anything like that, other than me, but just like as a matter of business. But we're also testing, so let's see if we come up. There we go. Taylor G. Taylor GGG. So Taylor, okay, so you were silver. You were silver in 2020. And you actually went down.
You see, I raced to the bottom. My goal is to be the worst scout of all time, and to hold that crown. Golf rules for me, my friend. That's how I like to play. I don't think I actually did my 40, but maybe I did. I don't know. Maybe that's an excuse I'm making for such a poor score.
It could very well be that you just didn't do your 40. So we could also unmask Michelle Carter. Should we do that, do you think?
I think so. I think she's going to be far, far higher. Yeah.
Well, there we go. Now, again, This is probably a test account. This is definitely a test account down here because it hasn't even been used.
I think she just won my race to the bottom. So she literally has 0.
But she beat you, right?
Oh, yeah. If that's the real account up there, for sure.
Yeah. Well, but again, even the real account, Michelle and myself and a lot of us, we end up doing testing. So if there's ever any debugging, we go in and debug it. Anyway, that's just a fun way. If you want to look yourself up, you can do it. The link is now out there. We'll do a blog post that has a little bit more information in it. But for now, why don't we kind of let people play with that. Taylor, are there any questions that we should address, or should we just go on and maybe share another trailer or two?
Let's take a look and see if there's been any questions. Let's see. Crow1224 asks, what was the minimum for Elite?
Oh, the minimum, that's a good question. It's the highest score. Well, here, actually, I can probably figure that out. So let's do this. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to sort it by 2021 score. And this is the status. So you can see, I mean, it was like the top 50 people, top 50-ish people. So this was the scoring cutoff for Elite. And there is a table, like I said, we'll do a blog post, but the first 5% gets Elite. The next 10%, so that's 6% to 15% cumulative, is gold. And then silver, I believe, is the next maybe 15%, which would go from 16% to 30%. So if you're in silver, you're still in the top quarter, to almost a third. And then bronze is 30%, 31% to 50%. So, and then everybody, everybody else is just a plain scout. And, by the way, and I say this to Taylor mostly, but to everybody, don't get discouraged if you get like a bad score, because I feel like it's one of those things that you can get better at over time. Because really, if you think about it, what it's about is just kind of trying to strip away your own internal biases. Right? You're going to look at this and say, yeah, I want to see this, but you need to step back and say, okay, well, what is everybody else going to want? And, you just simple things like recognizing, foreign films, foreign language films, like that's just, it tends to be a less popular category. There's people that like it. There's nothing, obviously foreign language films, some of them can be amazing. Parasite is a great example. Yeah, exactly. But just as a whole, people tend to like foreign language films, or they gravitate towards them less than they do English films. And so, or documentaries versus narrative feature films and that sort of stuff. And so I think that it's the sort of thing that is, you can kind of step away from it and try and strip away your own internal feelings and look at it as analytically as possible, which, I mean, frankly, is probably good advice for all of us just in life.
And also at the same time, as fun as it is to compete with each other in a healthy, happy way, like the real exciting thing about Film Scout is just by participating, you are contributing to a wealth of information, data, sharing your opinions, sharing your likes and your dislikes, and helping Legion M as a community make better decisions as to what films to get involved with. So I think that's even, beyond the ranking of Scout, just in participating, you are creating a disruptive sort of change in the way that films are chosen from these and scouted just in general, which I think is fascinating, because I
totally agree.
Yeah, that's that whole first element of it, not necessarily guessing what other people are thinking, that's important, but also just sharing your thoughts and your opinions help us build a better company and a better slate of projects.
That's right. So don't hate John Biscardi and John Grievous. Appreciate the fact that they are working to increase the value of your stock.
I am just as good as both of those Johns, as that is the point that I'm trying to make.
That is right. Awesome. Well, so why don't we go ahead and what was the next? Oh, so the next film that we wanted to talk about. So, well, first of all, Taylor, are there any other questions that we should answer immediately?
Let me double
check. Or should we keep going?
I don't see any that have been posted in our brand new Slack thread. Okay. But I think that lots of people are calling out what their scores are in the chat, which is exciting. Congrats to everyone. Congrats to the elites and everyone else. Thanks again for participating in this whole process, because once again, just being a part of it is the exciting thing. It's not about not about the rank. But I don't see anything. Let me just take a quick glance through here. You guys are really seeing how the sausage gets made as Taylor hosts and reads.
Yeah, Taylor is literally like the guy that has the trombone and the drums between his knees and the cymbals and and he's marching and doing a dance. By the way, if you're looking through the scoreboard and you have trouble finding yourself, or you see like an error, like, wait a second, there's no score for me in 2019, just let us know, because like I said, there are, the data should be solid. Like, we've double checked it and triple checked it, but especially because of the fact that we've had to move between systems over the years, there's always the chance. There's been a couple of them that I've had to merge accounts because somebody opened an account on one email on one and another email when they were on the app, or, had to use a new email in the app in 2021 because the email from last year didn't work. So if you see any problem or if there's any concern, just let us know. Send an email to team@legionm.com is the easiest way to do it. Brandy will, take a look at it. We've got the data, and if there's anything wrong, we'll fix it.
Awesome. Just calling out some fun comments. Let's see. Fiveable 5A says, hoping I can break out to the upside of my triple bronze streak next time. I bet you can.
Yes.
What was that, Jeff? You had something?
So, I see a comment from Dino Might that says that he was elite last year, and the list, the current one says gold. And that is correct, Dean. You were one of about, so last year, because we only had 2 years of data, we granted elite status to a handful of people. It's probably about 15 or 20 people that were very high-ranking Gold Scouts both years. And the idea was like, okay, well, you didn't get elite either year, but you were really high, like you were right on the border twice in a row. And so we granted effectively honorary elite status to about 15 people, and we invited them to join the elite program. This year, you got elite the hard way. So you're not technically a double elite. You're like right on the border of being a double elite. And like I said, there's only a handful of people like you that are in that same boat. But I did want to share that you aren't going crazy.
So Jeff, did you say that there were other films that we had potentially considered from the Scout app that we were thinking about?
Yeah. Well, here's a quick question that I see in Slack. Is Legion M official just focusing on rights and distribution, or is Legion M tackling any productions? And I'd love to answer that, and then we can get into one of these other films. But the answer is yes to both. We are, if you look through our SEC filings, you will see there's about 8 or 10 different business models that as a company we have participated in. Everything from writing checks for equity investments to doing in-kind investments for P&A investments, to distribution, to production. We've done some podcast stuff. We've done development. And so, one of the next frontiers for us really is kind of, is production. We've dramatically accelerated the rate at which we are acquiring new IP. And by IP, I'm talking about books or comic books in an effort to turn them into either movies or TV shows. And we've got one we're in negotiations with right now with a very exciting partner that we hope to be able to announce soon. And we've got another feature film that we are very excited about that we hope to make announcements on soon. These are all kind of projects that we've talked about in the past. I can't tell you what the announcements are. Partially because they haven't been signed and so they're not done. But also, there's a lot of confidentiality around this sort of stuff with partners. Hollywood is a very, I don't know if secretive is the right word, but it's, a lot of this information is confidential and competitive. And so it might end up causing trouble with our partners. It could end up inhibiting us in the future. And so we just always want to be super conservative and only announce stuff when we know that we've got it. But I can tell you that there's some really good stuff coming.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
All right. Well, we'll go through. I've got like one or two other. If you've got questions, go ahead and throw them down. And Michelle and Brandy are feeding Taylor and I in the chat. But I don't want to go too much longer. But I think that it is worth talking about at least one other film that we looked at very seriously coming out of Sundance this year. In fact, I said we don't have a project this year, but this is the one that probably is the closest that we came to. And it's an amazing project called Street Gang, which is a documentary about Sesame Street. And I don't know how much you guys know about Sesame Street. The story behind it is amazing. Like, I grew up with Sesame Street, like that's just my era, and I watched it as almost everybody that I know during that era. But the backstory behind the creation of it, I think is just really fascinating and heartwarming and amazing. So why don't we do this? Why don't we play the trailer for it? This one actually has a trailer. And it's going out with one of our partners, which is Screen Media, which is a division of Chicken Soup for the Soul. And so that's why, you know, we got pretty far along with this one. It didn't end up panning out for a couple of reasons, but why don't we go ahead and play the trailer, and then we can just talk about it for a little bit.
Absolutely. I'll cue it up. I would also like to say thanks everyone for joining. I know we're seeing some people falling off or heading to bed or go get dinner or anything. Thanks so much for checking out the rankings. If you happen to be on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, etc., feel free to leave us a like, leave us a follow, hit that subscribe button, you know, just all of the typical influencer tags, etc. We really appreciate it. It helps us make sure that we can always get the word out to you. So let's take a look at the trailer for Street Gang.
This was an experiment.
Tag, you're it.
No one had ever seen anything like it.
I wanted to capture the family aura. Hi, Bird.
Ernie!
But I don't think any of us sat there thinking, oh my God, we're changing the world.
Joan had a brilliantly simple notion. Children were watching a tremendous amount of television.
So why not see if it could educate them?
I love the whole idea of taking commercial techniques and applying them to a show for kids.
I was convinced that it would be impossible to do.
Jim Henson, Frank Oz, if they were on, you had a good day.
We're the best of friends.
Yes. How many lines do you have? Three. Well, try to get the first one better.
I had become intellectually and spiritually involved with the civil rights movement.
Those were revolutionary times.
I saw it as a political show.
There's no question that we're integrated. That's our worst sin. I'm happy to be a sinner.
Beautiful children will grow up.
And make the whole world beautiful.
Right on.
To be on the set, watching this dynamic, it was magic.
It was people dedicated to a real ideal and having the will to do it.
It was all of us having the time of our lives, writing silly things, but always with this message that television could be socially valuable.
We're not sure what we are or what we can be. We know there's potential, and the realization to accept ourselves, that's what Sesame Street's about.
And we're back. There we go. Yeah, what a cool doc. You saw it, right, Jeff?
I did, yeah. So I saw this one, and again, this is one of the unique ones that I talked about earlier, where coming to the festival, it was already spoken for. And so it's actually out now. I think you can rent it tonight. Legion M has no association with it. You know, we're not involved. But honestly, it's an amazing story. And the reason I know this is partly from the movie, but I was kind of interested going in because I had read an article, I think by Malcolm Gladwell. There might have been a chapter of it in one of his books, if I remember. But, you know, so like I said, I consumed Sesame Street as a child, as a consumer. Did you, Taylor? I'm curious. You're obviously a different generation. Did you grow up on Sesame Street?
You know, not really, to be honest with you. I think I watched more like Thomas the Tank Engine. That was sort of my shining time station, was where I was usually seated in front of that, and Legends of the Hidden Temple. Like all of those kind of, you know, Nickelodeon shows were sort of what I grew up with, at least.
Yeah, well, so, you know, like you tend to, or I tend to think of children's programming a lot of times it's just kind of like, you know, lowest common denominator, like, you know, so much of it's just like blinky, flashy lights and, you know, that sort of stuff. And so the interesting story about Behind Sesame Street, it was actually initially funded by a government grant. And what it was researchers that recognized that children, you know, TV at the time was an entirely new medium. And they realized that, you know, kids were watching a lot of TV, and particularly kids, you know, that were in, I don't know, low socioeconomic areas and places where, you know, maybe they didn't have a parent, you know, they had two working parents, or, you know, and the TV was kind of like their babysitter or that sort of thing. And so, and what they realized is that these kids, like a surprising number of kids, they didn't know how to read, but they could sing the latest Budweiser commercial, right? They didn't know the ABC song, but they could sing the Budweiser commercial. And what they said is like, wow, we've got this entirely new medium that can reach people in places that, you know, is traditionally very hard, and people that maybe can't go to school or don't go to school. How can we use Madison Avenue advertising techniques to sell the alphabet to these children and to sell math? And so, you know, they went through various iterations of it. Every segment on that show, before it actually was screened to the audience, was screened to test audiences. And there were child psychologists and child educators watching to make sure that it wasn't just something that had the kids like this and consume their attention, but it was also, they were paying attention in ways that it actually could impact them and they were learning from it. And I think that's what's so powerful about it, is that it was more than just a TV show. It was literally trying to harness a new medium to change the world and help these children in places where they weren't otherwise going to get help. And, you know, for me, I found it so inspiring and also so relevant and timely, because we live in a world where there are these new mediums like, you know, TikTok and Instagram and social media and all this sort of stuff. And, you know, as a parent, you worry about like, oh my God, are my kids on social media too much? And what am I doing right? And just the idea of innovators of that time coming together to say, how can we use TikTok to help make society better, right? To help teach kids how to read or to teach them skills, I think is so inspiring and so timely. And so, you know, like it's a really powerful movie, and I can't recommend it enough.
It sounds great. I only ever got to meet Frank Oz one time. And it was,
did you really?
Yes. And it was actually fascinating because it was pre-COVID, pre-everything. One of my first jobs was working for a management company, and I set up a Skype call. I was working in the AV room, so like all the tech of like conference rooms and things. I got to set up a Skype call between Frank Oz and Billy Crystal, who was actually there. So yeah, that was fascinating. And he gave me one of my favorite compliments as an intern ever. And he said, "Great effing job, Taylor." And it was great effing job. Yeah, except he actually said the words. We're keeping this PG though. We're keeping this PG, this stream. Yeah, it was awesome. So yeah, it was pretty neat. Because it's fascinating to hear voice actors, especially when they speak with their natural voices, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like I hear all of those characters just sort of in the background, you know?
Yes, totally. Well, you know who has an amazing Sesame Street story is Leonard Maltin, because he's told us the story before, that he went to the set of Sesame Street one day. He was doing a piece on them or something like that, and it literally just happened to be the day that they were recording Rubber Ducky. You know, and so he was there in the room when, you know, they recorded that song. Like it's absolutely, I mean, talk about like a moment in time and history, you know.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, so it's already 4:15. Like we've already gone over. The meeting is officially over. I think Taylor and I are going to stick around. We've got a couple other videos. We're happy to answer questions as long as we want. But I want you guys to know the meeting is over. You know, feel free to leave. You know, we're not going to be offended.
I'm going to repost the score sheet in the chat on Twitch here. If someone in the background wouldn't mind also posting it into Facebook and YouTube, just so that if you have arrived late and you're excited to see the scores and the results from Scout, they are out, they're available. You can click on this link and find yourself in the rankings. And congrats to everybody, Elite Scouts all the way on down. Thank you so much for participating. It was amazing to see so many people. It just keeps growing every year, keeps growing, more and more data, making more and more incredibly good decisions. And once again, if you haven't yet, feel free to follow us on Twitch and or subscribe here on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Facebook. You can go over to our members only group. We've got two places that you can just stay in touch with us on Facebook. One is our typical Facebook page, Legion M Official, and the other is our members only group, where we often put out more polls and ask more questions and do a lot of internal development on different things that we're working on with the community. So head over there and make sure that you sign up for that if you're interested. But yeah, we are still here. We'll continue to answer some questions. In fact, I think we have a few that are queued up.
Brandy wants you to plug the Discord, Taylor.
Oh, that's right. We have a Discord channel now. So go check it out. Legion M Official on Discord. Yeah, it's kind of like a forum. It's kind of like a Skype forum. It's great. We do have a Discord. So yeah, if you're interested in chatting with us, talking with us, it's kind of like the old forum, I think, would be a way to describe it. It's like a new version of the forum, which we do not use anymore. So if you've been lurking on the forum and you're like, why is nobody talking to me? It's because we don't go to the forum anymore, and we use Discord now. So please go to the Discord and check it out and enjoy yourselves. Discord is great. There you go. I mentioned it, Brandy. I see. I've done it.
Is there a link? Michelle. Oh yeah, Michelle just posted it in Twitch, and so Brandy, if you can share it elsewhere too. But
come discover our Discord.
That's right.
Yes.
And if you're new, you can discover what Discord is, because it's there's never enough places to be able to go and try and keep up with things, right?
Incredible. Yeah, I agree. I think that I look forward to the day where Legion M has its own app, and that is potentially sooner rather than later in the future, which is exciting. No guarantees, obviously, but the idea of being able to circle the wagons and place everything into one-stop shop would be fantastic. So
absolutely.
Well, let's queue up some questions. We've got one from Chrissy Joe that says, I'd love to see more comedy in the pipeline. Any chances on that? Some pure comedy in the Legion M slates pipeline.
I concur. I'm a huge comedy fan. I mean, I think that we are collectively huge comedy fans. We've got Jelly, which I don't know if I would say that is comedy, but it definitely is. There's some really funny kind of aspects to it. Chrissy Joe, I can tell you it's certainly not a conscious decision on our part, that we're not doing it. The projects that end up on our slate it's kind of a combination of things that we're interested in. It's the union, right? The Venn diagram union of the things that we're interested in and the things that are available and come to us. And so it's in some sense we've got to kind of choose the best that we've got from the options that are available. But I totally agree, and I'd love to see more. We've got Airship Cowboys. I know that's a pure comedy that's on our development slate and has been for a couple of years, but that's something that we're continuing to work on and push forward.
Yes.
And totally. We have Taylor Gledhill. I mean, what else do you need other than Taylor? Say something funny.
I've got a llama mug on my desk, I guess. I'm more of a prop comedian, I suppose. Yeah, sorry. I don't just dance on command for you, Jeff.
That's right.
Let's see. We've got one from Busy Bee Jeff, who says, would you guys ever look back at previous year's Scout results for a project that hadn't been picked up yet? Is that something?
That is a great question, Jeff. And that is something we have done in the past. looking at Scout results and also just looking at, film festivals, even where we haven't had Scouts, because I do think that there's an opportunity there sometimes to potentially pick up some hidden gems, some things that, for whatever reason, they didn't fit. It's never going to be, like a big blockbuster movie, because all those movies are going to get picked up. But there's a lot of things that, maybe a good documentary, a good foreign language film, something that is kind of maybe a little bit on the raw side and has a lot of potential, or something that just got unlucky maybe with their timing or circumstances. And so it's definitely something that we could do. Again, we haven't picked up any projects that way, but we do, obviously we've got all the data, we can continue to collect it. And what we actually really want to start doing is just scouting more stuff, right? We want to go to more festivals. We want to start, ultimately we'd love to scout things beyond just film festivals. Like what if you could each week we play trailers of movies that are coming out, and, we all collectively scout for fun, what's going to be in cinemas over the summer. What if we started scouting comic books or books or something like that. So we definitely want to do more and more and more.
Yeah. Awesome. Speaking of more and doubling down, Dead Space Twit says, will there be a sequel to Arch Enemy? Do we know?
Okay, first of all, I love the username Dead Space Twit. That's awesome. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely something that's always out there. The movie, I don't want to give any spoilers if you haven't seen it. Well, if you haven't seen it, you need to go see it, because come on, guys. I mean, that is a Legion M production. We are in the production credits before the movie, because that movie probably wouldn't exist without our participation. So if you haven't seen Arch Enemy, go see Arch Enemy. And then you can go buy I've got some around here somewhere, some space whiskey.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
Just got a half-drank bottle of whiskey hanging out at your work desk. Eh?
Yeah, I know. You gotta mark it, and you can monitor my consumption. But anyway, go see Arch Enemy. It definitely, there's the potential for that. That's one of the things that we think is cool about it. And I don't know. Maybe, I know the director would love to. Maybe we start with some comic books, and start to explore it. I think there's a lot of fun thing that we could do with that.
Yeah, explore and expand the universe of Arch Enemy.
That's right.
Cher Davis says, if I'm associated with the film community in my local area, can I suggest investments that look solid to Legion M in that instance, or would that pose any conflict?
That's a great question, Cher. There's no conflict. So absolutely, I wouldn't worry about that. I would say the best thing is to send an email to team@Legion-M, and we'll take a look at it. Somebody will take a look at it. It'll get kicked over to Terry or Paul or David Terry or David or Michelle on the development team. And absolutely, send it over. We're always looking for interesting opportunities.
Awesome. Let's see. Oh, I just had another question and I lost it. Let's see. Oh, I just had this question and it's gone.
Well,
this is what we call
why
dead
don't we
air,
do this?
Everyone. What's that, Jeff?
Why don't we tee up the next video?
Okay, sounds good.
Which is, why don't we do Jockey next, Taylor?
Ooh, Jockey. Let's get that queued up.
So let me give you the backstory on this one. So this is another film at Sundance this year, and I'm going to go back and share my screen for a second because I need a prop for this one. So all right, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, so like what as you know, there are two questions that we ask in Film Scout. The first is whether you like the movie or you don't like the movie. And that is what you can see in the horizontal axis here. I don't know if this text is big enough to see on your screen, but the top is like. So something at the very top of this graph are things that people really like, and the very bottommost are things that they don't like. The second thing that we ask is what you predict other people will think. And in that case, the stuff on the right of the screen is what you predict people will like, and which the left is the other. So this is one of the things that we do when we talk about analyzing the data, is we can break it into different quadrants. So you can see, like, there's no names associated with this data point because we want to respect the confidentiality for all the films and that sort of stuff. And again, I want to just reiterate, this is art. There's no such thing as a good movie or a bad movie. People like it, people don't like it. People tend to say a good movie is something that a lot of people like, and a bad movie is something that not very many people like. But at the end of the day, there's also a lot of exceptions, like niche movies that not very many people like, but they are life-changing movies for them. And so anyway, I just want that caveat, because I hate talking about art as like good or bad or stuff like that, because it's really, from a commercial standpoint, there's things that is economically viable and not. But anyway, so all that said, the stuff that falls, and this is actual data points from 2 years ago, and it shows that, these are what we would call the no-brainer quadrant. Everybody wants to see these films. Everybody thinks that everybody else wants to see these films. So I think like one of these was like the Will Ferrell movie from 2 years ago with Julia Louis-Dreyfus. And, this is like, everybody knows that, okay, this movie is going to be great and everybody's interested. What's that?
What?
Oh, sorry. I thought you said
force majeure, but I don't think I said them out loud. Like, oh, the movie Force Majeure. I telepathically sent that over to your brain.
There you go. So the opposite of that are the ones that I would say are kind of like an uphill battle, right? Because nobody really wants to see this movie, and also everybody kind of predicts that others are not going to want to see it too. And again, like, this doesn't necessarily mean that the movie is going to be bad, because keep in mind, this is data. Most of this data, when we're talking about like using this chart, comes from the people that are rating the books by their covers, right? And so what we may find is literally, this bottommost point right here, the one that nobody wants to see and nobody thinks anybody else wants to see, is actually an amazing movie. And so, there could be opportunities in this. But I think where it gets really interesting is when you look at the other two quadrants. So for example, this quadrant is what we would consider, the upper left is what we would consider the hidden gems. So these are ones that everybody wants to see, but for some reason they think that nobody else wants to see them, when in fact everybody does. And so this is an area that I think is a really interesting one to look at, because it shows that maybe the conventional wisdom is wrong on this one, and there might be opportunities there. The reverse is this one, ones that people don't want to see, but everybody thinks that somebody else is, like, oh my God, they're going to think, they think that this is going to be popular, when in fact, everybody secretly is not interested. So, this is just kind of an interesting matrix. And the next film that we're going to show you is from Sundance this year, is Jockey. And it was one that fell very squarely in this realm. And so we were interested in it. Shortly after the festival started, it got picked up by Sony. And, so that kind of took it off the table, meaning that there wasn't really anything that we could do with it, other than the fact that I have no idea what the economics of that deal was, but knowing that it's a hidden gem, I think there's a good chance that Sony might have gotten a good deal on it, because of the fact that conventional wisdom was that people weren't going to want to see it. Anyway, so with all that said, Taylor, if you want to roll the clip for Jockey, this isn't a trailer. It's another one of the little artist things that...
Correct. You bet. Let's check out Jockey.
Hi, I'm Clint, and I'm the co-writer and director of Jockey, which is playing in the U.S. Dramatic Competition at Sundance this year.
And I'm Greg, co-writer, producer. Our film stars Clifton Collins Jr., Molly Parker, and Moises Arias.
And around our 3 leads, we cast jockeys and trainers and just people from the track. We also shot on a live working racetrack, and it brought just such a level of realism to the movie that it's just really beautiful to see. This movie comes from a really personal place for me. My dad was a jockey, and I grew up behind the barns. I grew up in the world of horse racing. There was something I always felt that was lacking in horse racing movies, a sense of realism and a true representation of the lifestyle that these people lead.
My dad wasn't a jockey, but as soon as Clint brought me into this world, I was just struck by how painful and punishing and unforgiving the sport can be on jockeys. But at the same time, they had this unshakable belief in what they could do in the next race, the next time into the gates. And that belief, despite this immense hardship, was something I think we can all relate to.
This movie was a real labor of love, and it took about 3 years to make. And in the end, we made it with a small crew of just really passionate and wonderful people. Thank you for watching, and I hope you watch the movie.
All right, and we're back. So that's Jockey. Again, haven't seen it. Did you watch it, Jeff?
I did, yeah, and it was a great movie. I mean, like a really, compelling, powerful. They touched on it when the director's talking about it, and you don't get a lot of the feel for the visuals in that because there's not a lot of footage from the movie, but it's just beautifully shot. I mean, this wasn't a thing where they had big sets. They literally just embedded themselves at a real working racetrack. And aside from, I think it's the 3 leads, everybody else was literally just the people from the racetrack. They had lines, they had things that they had to do, but they weren't actors. They were actual jockeys and horse trainers and caretakers and all that sort of stuff. And, the directing and cinematography on it is just gorgeous. Like, they shot the whole thing. In the Q&A afterwards, they talked about the fact that, they shot the whole thing, I think, between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. in the morning and 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. in the evening during the golden hours. Wow. And it just has this beautiful glow about it for pretty much the whole thing. And it's just like, again, this is all stuff that you would not pick up on in a short description about horse racing. But again, it was really interesting to me, the fact that the movie people were very interested in it, even though they mostly predicted that other people wouldn't. And so I don't know why that is, but again, that's kind of the magic of the Scout data is it brings things to light that don't necessarily make sense, or they're not intuitive. You can't argue with the data. The facts are the facts.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you never know what is interesting to someone scrolling through Netflix or Hulu or anything like that, because I could see, especially a film like that, being put up against perhaps something with maybe a star or a narrative or something like that, where it may end up being that odd film out in a which would you rather see, or which would you or who you it might be one that you might think other people would choose the other one. You know what I mean? Yeah. Exactly.
Well, yeah. So I see a question here from Busy Beach F that says, has our Film Scout data tracked against actual box office? And I think that's a really interesting question. And we have done some analysis. Like I said, we've had these data scientist interns and MBA interns that have done.
We got some incredible interns.
I know, literally the last intern. So these MBA interns are incredible because honestly, I feel like they're interning for us for free, but I'm going to be working for you someday. So it's just really an opportunity to make some connections.
Some of these interns came on the first, staff meeting and introduced themselves. I was like, your career is already wildly more successful and exciting than mine has been. It's unreal. It's so fascinating. And you're interning for us? We're teaching you? So anyway, they were amazing. Yeah, they did some incredible analysis on this.
But so that's definitely something that we've tracked, and there's two things that we've looked at. One is how it stacks up compared to Rotten Tomato scores, which is probably the purest evaluation. The box office is really challenging because, you know, like I said, I mean, you can look at, there are box office results for some things, but, you know, other things there's not. All the stuff that gets gobbled up by a streamer, you know, it's really hard. Anything that comes out day and date, the theatrical box office is pretty much, you know, not important because the whole day and date release strategy is built around the VOD sales, and the box office is just kind of a way that you make that strategy work. It's really more of a marketing tactic than anything else. And so
that's essentially where people release on demand and in a theater at the same time, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they come out at both the same time. And here's a little inside baseball for you. You know, the reason why distributors generally do that is that if you want to release nationally in movie theaters, it's very expensive because you have to put marketing commitments behind it for a lot of theaters to pick it up, right? Or you're going to face with the fact that you're going to have a bunch of empty theaters, right? People don't just go to the theater and say like, oh, I wonder what's playing. Oh, that's an interesting name. Let me walk in, right? People go to the theater to see a movie because they've heard about that movie and they want to see it. So if you're going to release in 3,000 theaters, you've got to do enough marketing in order to make that happen. And for smaller films, including Arch Enemy, Memory, the Origins of Alien, those were both day and date releases. Mandy was a day and date release. For smaller films, one of the techniques that people will use is they're going to say like, look, we can't really support a national box office campaign, but what if we put it in 20 theaters or 50 theaters, right? So it's a much more limited, and we're only going to do it in, you know, like maybe Los Angeles and New York and some of the really big geographies. And then the fact that it's in theaters allows us to release it on demand at the exact same time. And on iTunes, it's one of the in theaters now section, right? Which makes it more appealing because, you know, like, oh, this one's in theaters right now, but I can also watch it in my living room, you know, and they can charge more for it. It might be $7.99 instead of $5.99. So that whole strategy, like the box office is part of it and you want to make money on it. But frankly, going into it, you're like, I may lose money on the 50 theaters that I'm going to put it into, but I'm going to make that up because of the fact that so many more people are going to see it online. And so
it's like a cachet type of thing where something that's going to theaters but not direct, you know, your plan is to go to VOD as big as possible, but it's sort of like almost psychological where you still think, oh, it's in theaters, but I can also watch it here on my iTunes.
Yeah.
You know, it's a huge movie, and also what a treat. I don't have to go to the theater if I don't want to, so I can check it out. So it's fascinating.
Awesome.
But yeah.
All right. Well, so there's one more video that we teed up, and again, the meeting ended 45 minutes ago. But if you want to stick around, there is one more video that we can show, and this is for again showing kind of the different facets of Sundance. This is for a little movie called First Date. Yeah. And so, is it teed up, Taylor?
It is teed up. It is.
All right. Tee it up and roll them, and then we'll talk about it after.
Please enjoy this video of First Date.
Hello, my name is Darren Knapp.
My name is Manuel and I'm not looking at the camera.
My name is Darren Knapp. Should I say it like...
So who are you?
Who am I? My name is Darren Knapp.
I'm Manuel Crosby, and we made First Date.
And our film is showing in the next category at Sundance 2021.
First Date is about Mike, a shy high school kid, has a crush on Kelsey, wants to take her out on a date. But to do that, he needs a car. All he's got to do after he buys that car is go pick her up, and he never gets
Seems so simple.
But he never gets there.
He never gets there.
So much happens. Buying that car gets him in a lot of trouble. So we both grew up here in Valley Springs, California. That's where the movie takes place, but it's kind of like a fictionalized sort of version of it. We actually met at public access TV here in Calaveras County.
That was the first time,
fair, I remember we started talking before the fair ended, and then it was midnight, everyone was gone, and we were still talking movies in the parking lot. It was like, oh, we gotta make a movie together. And we had a lot of people help us make that possible, a lot of people.
We couldn't have done it without any one of those people.
Pretty much all the actors were local from the Sacramento area.
We were so lucky to find the cast that we found.
And with Tyson and Shelby, we really lucked out.
Exactly.
Both of them were new to acting at that point. This was their first feature film.
Pays for a movie right now.
Ooh. Oscar, everyone. He was a big part of this production because he peed all over all the equipment cases when we used to stack them right here.
This is the fun part.
I can't wait to see what people think.
Yeah, I hope they enjoy it.
I feel like we can just cut to Mike making a funny face.
And we're back. First Date. Jeff, did you watch First Date?
I did. This was one, and this one did pretty well. I think in all aspects of it. Meaning the people that watched it, as well as the people voting and saying that they were interested in it. And what I love about this one, again, I don't know, how much you were able to pick up on it. It was great watching the Q&A after. Like, that's one of the coolest things about Sundance and Fantastic Fest and these film festivals. I mean, part of it is seeing the movie for the first time, but really when you see the Q&A before and after, and get a chance to hear the stories behind it, it just adds so much more texture to it. But I think what's really cool about this is those are first-time filmmakers, right? They filmed this in, Valley Springs. It's like outside of Sacramento. It's like a tiny suburb, nowhere near Hollywood. They were using all local actors and crew, which largely means it's probably like their friends and family, and they're like, hey, can you hold this light, And the actors are first-time actors, it's really amazing. And the film is good. I mean, it kind of is what it is. It's a low budget movie, a very low budget movie, and it's not something that you would expect is going to win an Academy Award or become like a blockbuster hit, but it represents this amazing new talent and the power of creativity to overcome and create something out of nothing that was really good and really enjoyable for a lot of people. I definitely recommend it. It's a fun. It's a good little movie. I'm really interested to see how these directors do and producers and what they go on to do after this. But again, it's funny. The whole thing ends with I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it ends with a big shootout, like a big, and they told us like we only had one take because we didn't have enough ammo, right? So it's like if you don't get it right, no, it wasn't real bullets. It's blanks, but But again, the whole thing is just, really powerful. And, after this one, based on the data from Sundance, we reached out to them and we talked to the producer. And, there's stuff that we might do with them in the past. And, they already had some distribution, kind of stuff lined up or falling into place. And so it wasn't a great fit for Legion M this time around. But, we'll pay attention to those filmmakers in the future because I think that they could do good things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so cool, especially when you go to Sundance, just to see the new talent and everything that comes out of those places. Just because it's almost like it's a nexus for new filmmakers and a place where audiences are looking for that too. It's a place where people are expecting and excited to see up and coming talent. We've got a comment from Mart List, I believe is the handle. It's a long comment, but the gist, I believe, is the idea of using Film Scout data where you're comparing the initial looking at the poster, looking at the synopsis, etc., versus the data of those who have actually seen these films. Just do you think you could talk a little bit about how Film Scout, the app, and how we collect that data together and use that to make a determination? How much is it weighted for people who have seen the film versus those who have not and are just
I think it's a really a good question, and I think it really cuts to the core of our strategy and our philosophy on this, because it's it's interesting. We always say, like, there's the art of filmmaking and movies and that sort of stuff, and then there's the business of it. And if you think about it, for a lot of companies, the art of it doesn't necessarily matter that much, right? Meaning that at the end of the day, if they can sell you this movie, they've done their job, right? Like, and there are, and I'm not talking about the filmmakers. Like, the filmmakers, everybody starts off to create an amazing movie, but by definition, only a small subset are amazing, and some subset of that are going to end up to be terrible movies. And a lot of time, maybe they didn't have enough money, maybe there were problems, maybe there are things they didn't foresee, maybe it was something experimental that didn't work out. I mean, there's a million reasons why a movie can fail, but in the value chain, like if you talk about a distributor that distributes movies, their job is to monetize it. And, at the end of the day, if they get handed a terrible movie, their job is to make the most of that. And so, if you think of things like a movie, I'm sure you've been to movies before where it's a comedy and they give all the best jokes in the trailer, right?
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating.
Sometimes they leave them out of the film. You don't even get to see them in the movie.
Exactly. And so as a moviegoer, it's so frustrating. And from the art standpoint, you're like, well, that sucks. But the distributor did their job. They got you into the theater. You paid your $15, right? And so for most distributors and for a lot of the people in the ecosystem, like the company that cut the trailer and, that sort of stuff, like, you don't know their names. Like, do you go see a movie or not see a movie because it's a Sony movie? Right? Does that even enter into your calculus? I mean, there's certain things. Pixar has a brand, Blumhouse has a brand, but Marvel obviously has a massive brand. Disney represents something, but a lot of distributors and studios, they ultimately, if you think of it as like a Darwinian ecosystem, the ones that have gotten to the top are the ones that are the most effective at monetizing the business, and so that's their model. Legion M, I think, is a little bit different because, for us, our brand does matter. And for our investors, I think people generally would not be happy if we started doing stuff. If we picked up like, oh, we can get this movie cheap, but we could probably sell the crap out of it. Everybody's going to hate it, but who cares because we got their money. If we started adopting, kind of that sort of mentality, we wouldn't get very far. And so for us, really, for a film to work, it has to work on the art side. Like, it's got to be something that we feel like, yeah, this is a movie that we can stand behind. It doesn't have to be a perfect movie, but it has to be something that we're like, yeah, like these are the reasons why we like it. And this is why it's worth putting our name on it. But, and then the other side, as far as what do people want to watch, the kind of like when you're thumbing through Netflix, I think that is also really important, but that is also somewhat malleable, meaning if, just because it did poorly in that regard at Sundance, if the movie is really good, like maybe they just did a bad job in the description. Maybe there's a different take, a different way to present this movie that might be more appealing to other people. So if we found an angle and we're like, well, they were really, they were playing this up as a horror movie, but it's really not a very good horror movie. It's more of a thriller. Maybe if we changed it and presented it this way to people, that, would be more appealing. Like that's something that would be an opportunity for us. So anyway, I don't know if that answers the question, but it really is kind of two sides of a scale. Both of those pieces of data, I think, are equally important for us. And, the one thing that I'll say is, there's nothing that we would ever do that we're like, oh, this is a steaming, piece of junk. It's, we're going to get it out there and do a money grab because I don't think that would not be wise for us.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make good movies and see good movies, and that's why we're all
Well,
here in the first place.
Yes,
So.
and there is a corollary to that, right? Which is, at the end of the day, we're also making movies, right? If we produce a movie or if we finance a movie, you know, you're starting with the script. You don't know what you're going to end up with, right? You know, so like that's one of the, I think, really unique challenges of being a producer and being in this industry is that everybody starts off with the intent of making an amazing movie. And it takes just as much work to make an amazing movie as a terrible movie. But the simple fact is, when you make movies, they can't all be amazing. And if you were to do, I don't know what the geographical distribution is, but I'm assuming it's a bell curve. And on one end, there's a tiny slice of films that are amazing. There's a big slice in the middle. And then there's also, some on the other end. And so, we do everything that we can, obviously, to stay on the right end of that spectrum. But that's just kind of part of the territory.
Yep. And I'd also like to announce that I am going to be starting my Kickstarter for Gledhill Studios, where we only make bad movies. And then that way, when you guys scout my films that are terrible, then the scout data will flip. And I will be at the top of the scout ranking. Speaking of our elite scouts, and therefore also our triple elite scouts, one last time, we actually have a question from John Biscardi, which I think is really fascinating. It's any thoughts on leasing the Film Scout software to studios and or other individuals? Is this something we got to keep close to the chest, or is it something that we could share with another provider and scale a bit?
No, it's a great question. We have had people ask us about it, and there is definitely, I think, an interest in it. If you think about it, people go to Sundance and they make $25 million decisions, and the value of having this data, I think, could be really interesting. We have had distributors that are interested. When I mentioned earlier that we talk to a lot of distributors and we share some of this data with them, and we're like, hey, we're tracking this film, or we'll say, hey, what films are on your list that you're tracking going into the festival? And then we'll give them a readout on the data. Right now, it's something like we see the advantages is creating advantages for Legion M. At some point, there could very well be an ancillary sort of data stream to release that data for the industry at large. It's not our focus right now. It's something that we're definitely open to. If we expanded Film Scout more, we think that it could. And I think more than that, John, we just need to make sure we lock you down and lock John Grievous down, so that now that we've done all this work to identify these amazing film scouts, you guys don't polish up your resumes and go work for a competitor.
Yeah, we've got to get some deals going, some wheels and deals. Speaking of our two triple elite scouts, 5A says, please live stream interview the two Johns. Would love to hear their insights in scouting. That would be a great thing to set up. I think that'd be fun.
That's a great idea. I would love to do that. John, if you're down, reach us somehow and let's figure out a way to do that, because I think that would be, I'd love to hear your secrets.
John Biscardi had one of my favorite Zoom jokes of the entire pandemic, where somehow, some way, at some point, when Jeff Aniston had left his computer, John Biscardi managed to get a perfect screenshot of Jeff's whole behind the scenes desk area. And so at the Archenemy after party, at the Gather platform, where we had this digital after party and everybody's running around as these little avatars and you could talk to people through video chats, we walk up to John Biscardi, and I swear I thought it was Jeff at first, because he had the same backdrop, and I was like, wait, John, are you sitting in Jeff's house? Because he had managed to put his virtual backdrop to be exactly the same as your real backdrop.
I know, yeah. That was definitely epic.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Definitely well done.
Well, we're coming up to about 5 p.m. here. So, Jeff, do you have any last thoughts before we sign off? Any last scouting tips? Any other secrets that we can spill?
No, I mean, other than, again, I can't thank everyone enough. The Sundance Film Scout data is still loaded into the app. If you haven't downloaded, go download it. Go train, go practice. I mean, right now it's just for fun, but I think it's a good way to kind of practice. And we hope to do more of this. There had been some rumbling about maybe trying to do something with Trifecta. There's been some other partners that are not film festivals that we've had some preliminary discussions with. Like I said, if we had more time as a company, we would have a full-time team. It'd be great to have a person or a couple people that are just dedicated to this as an app and trying to grow it and do more of it. So thank you guys for contributing to the company. Of it, and I love doing these Film Scout meetings. Film Scouts is one of my favorite initiatives because, like I said, I love.
Oh no, his microphone went out right at the most heartfelt moment. Jeff, I'm so sorry, but can't hear you.
Did you give me the hook, Taylor?
No, it's all on your end. I don't know what it was, but your mic totally, like, it didn't even just cut out, it like faded out. It almost makes it seem like I tried to sabotage you. Or did I?
Yeah. No. Well, it was super touching, and so, just cry a little bit, I suppose.
Awesome. I would like to echo those thoughts where, you guys mean so much to me, and I can't thank you. And we're back. Okay. So how about this? Thanks everyone again for coming out. Really appreciate you joining us with Scout, and check out those rankings again. I'll drop those into the chat in just a second. If you haven't already liked, subscribed, found us on the platform that you're watching on right now, appreciate everybody who stuck around for our 2 whole hours, and we hope that you enjoyed kind of going down a little bit of memory lane with Sundance. Yeah,
that's right. And by the way, if so, this is actually the perfect group. If you are into watching, people ramble for a couple hours, we should post the link to our D&D, the Twitch D&D channel. Because we got something for you.
Man, if you like rambling, then you will love Legion D&D. Let's see. I think I can put it in the chat right here. It's twitch.tv/Legion D&D.
This is a D&D game that we started. It's just an internal game. It's the Legion M staff. It's not designed, like, we're not trying to, I don't know, like,
be
entertain people. Yeah, or anything like that. But the guy that we're working with, the Dungeon Master, who's a good friend of David Baxter's, is incredible. He's a former radio talk show guy. He puts an enormous amount of work and energy into creating the stories and the production values. And he really wanted to stream it on Twitch. And so we've been streaming it on Twitch. There's actually a podcast available with all the previous episodes. But like I said, if you want something you kind of just have on in the background while you're washing dishes or, whatever, it's fun. And Dave Hampton will get a real big hoot, because I think our biggest audience so far is probably like 4 people. So, if we could get that up to 6 or 8, like, he's just gonna, we're gonna break his brain.
Oh yeah, 100% growth. It'll be incredible.
Yeah,
yes, that's right. So we play typically on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific or 6:30 p.m. Pacific, but it is sporadic, and so you never know. You never know if it's going to be on Tuesdays or not. So yeah.
Best thing is just to go, head over to that link, the Legion D&D link, and follow it, and then you'll get an alert, because it's usually Tuesdays.
That's right. Yeah, thanks everybody. Appreciate you turning out and hanging out with us, and we hope you enjoyed watching some trailers. We hope that you enjoyed playing Scout, and if you would like to check out your rankings, as I said, I will just once again copy and paste that link into the chat so that you can check out the portal and see your scores. And if you haven't had the opportunity to play, you can download Scout right now. It's in the iOS and Android stores. and you can practice. We still have everything loaded in from Sundance, so feel free to give it a whirl, and you'll probably still be a better scout than me. So how about this? We're gonna play a couple of fun trailers and or informational videos from different projects that we've announced already. You can find them on our YouTube page under the playlist New Project Announcements. But if you'd like to stick around and watch a few of them, I'm gonna play them right now.
And especially because we're starting with Save Yourselves, right?
Yeah, you're right. We are starting with Save Yourselves.
So this is in the spirit of Sundance and Film Scout. This is the movie that was the #1 pick in Film Scout in 2020. And based on that data, we, after the festival, during the festival initially, but after the festival, it sold. And then we worked with Bleecker Street, and, Legion M has a stake in this movie during the first 2 years. So any revenue that it generates during the first 2 years, we have a stake in. So if you have not seen it yet, go watch it. It's available for free on Hulu. It's Hulu, right? Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I'm 99% sure it's Hulu. So it's free on Hulu, but you can also rent it anywhere. And again, if you rent it, that generates money for the film. Legion M has a small stake in it. It's, probably a half a cent of your rental fee will go to us. But if enough of us do it, then it'll add up to be huge stacks of Scrooge McDuck money.
Yeah, if everybody on this chat goes and watches that movie tonight, we will have probably 30 cents. 1 Dogecoin, everyone. All right, let's check out this.
It may be more than half a penny. Like, I just pulled that number out of my, I have no idea exactly what it is. It's actually, now that I think of it, it's not a percentage. It's more like different levels. It's kind of like, if the movie hits this much revenue, then we get this much money. And if it hits this much revenue, we get, that much more money. So
Hollywood Hype Train.
That $5 that you spend to rent it literally could be the difference that puts us from one tier into the next tier and dramatically increases the amount of money that your company gets. So every last view counts. And like I said, even if you don't want to rent it, just watch it on Hulu, that's fine too. But watch it, enjoy it, rate it. Hopefully you'll like it.
But wait, there's more. Call in the next 5 minutes and we'll throw in a second Save Yourselves. All right, everybody. It's great to talk to you. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. And we will talk to you soon. So please enjoy Save Yourselves and a few other videos, and we'll see you next time.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Hello, this is Jack.
And Sue.
We are going offline for 1 whole week.
I would love to do something tangible.
I want to figure out who I am.
But we will be back June 9th. No laptops, no phones, no connecting to anything.
Thank you. I've been restoring my grandfather's cabin upstate. Actually, y'all should go up there.
That would be great.
Yeah.
We're not checking our email either, guys, and we're not kidding.
Okay. Bye, world.
Okay, bye, guys. Thank you.
So nice.
You're a genius.
Now we'll close our eyes and just feel each other.
Okay.
Feel with your brain.
Right.
We don't have any skills. The urge to take out my phone is very strong.
I've been wanting to YouTube how to make a trap to catch a rabbit so bad.
Shooting star.
Oh my God. Did that one hit the earth? What is that? Has this been here the whole time?
The poof? I don't know. Probably. Oh my God.
What the What is happening?
We need to turn our phones back on.
Sorry, making a smoothie. Listen, it's getting weird here in New York.
Serena, hello, are you there? Well, there's some kind of alien, very dangerous.
Aliens? The poof is in the cabin.
Poof on the couch.
Poof on the roof. What? Poof on the roof. What did Sean Connery say to the hostage who had a beard? I
I came here to save you.
Are we gonna have to shave ourselves?
You're actually gonna go to the woodpile and get the axe. I'm gonna go into the cabin, get the grab bags by the door, and then we'll wait back in the car and we'll reverse.
Okay, reverse, go to the woodpile, go back to the door, get the go bags, get outside, able together.
Are you listening or are you repeating?
Yeah, you go to the axe. Just one more time.
Behold! The city of Valoria.
Stefan Corney, he is an amazing artist.
Look at this.
He's one of these artists that has a constant flow of ideas.
Wow.
The best dungeon sculptor on the planet, bar none.
Hey! To Dunharrow! Onward! My name is Stefan Picorni, known to some as the Dwarvenaut. I am the founder and CEO of a company called Dwarven Forge, the industry leader in the creation of miniature gaming terrain for role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons. 25 years ago, I pioneered the modular dungeon industry, and if you play D&D, you've probably heard of me. After the success of the cult hit documentary The Dwarvenaut about my life, director Josh Bishop and I have teamed up with Legion M to bring you something truly special. It's called Destination Fantastic, and it's a documentary travel series unlike anything you've ever seen before. Oh my god, it's Mount Doom. Frodo, throw the ring into the volcano.
We're going to explore the origins of fantasy, gaming, art, and more in a rock and roll tour around the globe. It is my opinion that what we have in store for you is going to blow your mind.
Secret passageways, I love it.
This, of course, would also be an escape route from the fortress.
We're going to go uncover the actual places and things that inspired the fantasy genre to begin with. Sometimes we'll even bring a special guest.
Speaking of fantasy, where are we going now?
The glacier! Hello, Troll Patrol, coming through. Wow.
The world is full of gems just waiting to be uncovered. And if it's fantastical, we're going. What if we went to New Zealand with someone like Elijah Wood and explored the actual locations and technology that brought the Lord of the Rings movies to life?
That's right, folks. This is the house of Bilbo Baggins.
Who knows? Maybe we'll even meet Peter Jackson. What if we went to Italy with Joe Manganiello?
Oh, dude, man.
Of course, man.
That is awesome.
Yeah, wear it with pride.
Not only to attend one of the world's largest gaming conventions, but also to explore the art of the true masters.
Here we're gonna have the Colosseum coming up.
Not to mention all that ancient architecture and mythology.
I mean, look at this. It's the most amazing dwarven city.
How about traveling to the UK with George R.R. Martin to uncover the origins of King Arthur and Merlin? And then, of course, we could go north. It's gonna be nuts. So imagine this show is like Anthony Bourdain Parts Unknown, but for geek culture.
While we were filming The Dwarvenaut in Italy, Stefan and I came up with the idea for a documentary travel series exploring the origins of fantasy and beyond, and we've been working on it ever since.
Whoa, whoa! Wow!
Stefan is literally one of the most original artists I've ever met in my life, and he's someone that everyone should have the opportunity to experience. With this show, we're gonna give you just that.
I would love to do a geyser for a Dwarven Forge.
Teaming up with Legion M to bring this show into the world is a dream come true for us. We've been working on this project for a very long time, and they really are the perfect partner for us.
These are the real fans.
You know, one of my favorite sayings is that it's not about the destination, but about the journey. Well, this project turns that whole idea on its head. Introducing Destination Fantastic.
We've poured our hearts and souls into this, and we can't wait to explore the origins of fantasy and to bring you with us.
Gandalf!
Destination Fantastic!
The journey is just beginning.
Hi folks, my name is Brian Staveley, and I'm the author of The Emperor's Blades, an epic fantasy in which special forces soldiers ride massive hawks into battle, monks worship the god of nothing, and the largest empire in the world is founded on a genocidal lie.
Even though we've already announced this series of books to the Legion as something that we've been working on as a development project, it's time for an update.
This July, I'm releasing The Empire's Ruin, which is the start of a new trilogy set in the same world.
The Empire's Ruin is now available for pre-order, signed copies by Brian Staveley, available at legionm.com right now.
You'll receive a 20% off discount in our store. You'll be entered to win a prize package of the Emperor's Blades merch, like my shirt that I'm wearing. And you'll also be invited to an exclusive live AMA with Brian after the book releases, so you can ask him all of your burning questions.
Additionally, if you do pre-order the book from any other outlet, there's a form at legionm.com. You can upload your receipt for proof of purchase, and we will give you 20% off your next purchase at legionm.com.
If you haven't read the books yet, Legion M has signed copies of them available on their website, along with a whole batch of other cool stuff. They've got maps, they've got t-shirts, they've got these cool commemorative coins that are like coins out of the Empire itself.
Working on the Emperor's Blades merchandise collection has been so rewarding because we get to work directly with author Brian Staveley to bring this world to life solely based off our imaginations from reading the books.
We're very excited to be in development on this project. We'll have more updates for you when we can update you, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks everyone for reading, and hopefully, not too long now, I'll be able to say thanks for watching.
Hi, Legion M, it's COO and head of I am so excited. Brand new development project for Legion M. It's called The Gray Area, and it's an amazing graphic novel by John Romita Jr. and Glenn Brunswick.
Ladies and gentle people, my name is John Romita Jr. I am a cartoonist, and I've been working in my field of comic book illustration for about 40-something years. I got lucky enough to come up with an idea based on a couple of life experiences. One was growing up in a Catholic family in a Catholic area of Queens, New York. I was fortunate enough to have a dear friend, rest in peace, New York City police officer, about to become a detective. Tortured soul, but a good cop. So the combination of the two things, I imagined if a cop like that does the right thing for the wrong reasons, let's just say, but he ends up getting things done, saving lives, but he's a corrupt son of a gun, cheats on his wife, where does a person like that go? And, Catholic, you think about purgatory. Well, I was fortunate enough to run into a brilliant writer named Glenn Brunswick.
Basically, The Gray Area is a story about a corrupt cop named Rudy Chance. On a revenge bender winds up getting killed and goes to a realm called the Gray Area. The Gray Area is a place where people sometimes get a second chance to return to Earth and redeem themselves. But the real hook here, and why this was different and interesting, is in order to return to Earth, you have to inhabit the body of someone that loved you, or you can't return. And Rudy did not make many friends on Earth.
John Romita Jr., creator of Kick-Ass, and Glenn Brunswick. They came together to make really what can best be described as a supernatural cop story.
When you fill out your impulse survey, you tell us what you want to see. And this book, The Gray Area, was one of the most highly ranked comic books we've ever posted on Impulse. Because it's a development project, we're super early in our process. We finished our paperwork with the writers. We finished our paperwork with David Uslan, who we're going to be co-producing this project with. And we brought on a major A-list screenwriter to help us translate the book from page to screen. After that, we'll be putting together a package that's kind of like a sales package, and we'll be bringing it out to studios and networks and financiers, and it all depends on, is this going to be a feature film? Is it going to be a television series? And all of those questions are still up in the air because that's how early we are. But we wanted to bring you guys into the process so you get a behind the scenes look.
The visuals are incredible. It's a very, very distinct style, and we want to find a way to translate that style to the screen.
If God always was and always will be, and the universe is endless, the afterlife is going to be pretty crowded. Being in the business I'm in, as a cartoonist, creative cartoonist, so to speak, coming up with this imagery of the gray area just feels like it's MC Escher-esque. Face to every square inch of breathing space is covered by souls. And that's where we are.
On all the projects that we have going forward, we're constantly looking for ways to involve our members and investors in the actual production of these movies.
We'll be bringing you opportunities with behind-the-scenes development meetings, blog posts, and you may get some emails asking for your advice on who you think should be cast as the lead role.
I didn't think we would be lucky enough to run into these people at Legion M who cared about the story before we talked about this project this way. That was flattering, thrilling, and here we are.
I'm so excited to be working with John Romita Jr. and Glenn Brunswick, and I can't wait to tell you more about the gray area as we continue our work on this amazing project.
I suggest you pick up a copy of the graphic novel. We have them available in our store now. Check it out. It is awesome.
This is a film that I think everyone's going to love.
I'm very proud of it, and I think you guys will love it too.
Hey Legion M, it's Terry Luberoff, your COO and head of content for Legion M, and I'm here to announce another wonderful new development project that we've been working on. Are you ready? It's called The Book.
It's based on a graphic novel called The Book by Eric Hendricks, Michael David Nelson, and Amanda Rachels, and was put out by Arcana Comics, a great indie comics line. The Book graphic novel was brought to us by David Uslan, the executive producer of Sabrina, Secrets of a Teenage Witch, and the development executive on Constantine and National Treasure.
Hello to my Legion M family. This is David Uslan, producer, historian, consultant, comic book fanatic, second generation comic book fanatic. And my father, Michael Uslan, also a producer with a long history in this business. He and I are very excited to partner with Legion M.
Hi, I'm Eric Hendricks, one of the creators and the writer of the graphic novel version of The Book this project is based on.
And it is an amazing graphic novel that follows a group of tourists that find this DIY tourist guide.
Some of you might know when you travel to these big cities and you see these magazines, these books called Time Out, like Time Out New York, Time Out LA, that tells you all the in and outs of the city, where to go and hang out, the clubs to party at, where to go have fun. Imagine a book like Time Out, but a little different. Something that maybe talks about the underbelly of a city. Maybe supernatural, maybe who knows, but enough to lure you to places that you shouldn't be and you shouldn't go.
Our group of tourists happen upon it and tear out a page from the book, and it takes them on an adventure which they probably will not be writing home about ever.
The rest is a chaotic, bloody mess of cults, conspiracies, death, resurrection, and demonology.
We really see this as a jumping off point for a franchise of feature films revolving around the idea of this user-generated tour guide. We can go to any country in the world. We can explore any number of different scary scenarios that would come from being in that country.
This is going to lead to some really creative journeys. All of them, tending to be dark, but some can be more adventurous than sheer horror.
For any of you guys out there who remember movies like Evil Dead and Necronomicon, or movies like Hostel, or even movies like The Ninth Gate, which I personally was a big fan of, this is like a mix of all of that.
Be careful what you wish for, because you may get it in spades.
We are very, very happy to partner with Sean, with Arcana. My father and I, again, are thrilled to continue our relationship with the Legion M family, and stay tuned for more information, but this is going to be a fun one, guys.
I'm really excited to see what fans and investors will make of the book. Are you ready for a twisted and dark book that we've put together and have a chance to see it on the screen? So basically, you tell us.
We think that the potential is unlimited for this. So we're hoping that you will join us and you will get a chance to open up the book.
Tell me a story. Language you want.
This is Nacho Vigalondo, writer and director of Colossal. This movie is partially presented by Legion M, a company that is owned by fans.
The good folks at Legion M were dumb enough to invest in Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Hey, Legion M Film Scouts. I want to personally thank you for actually picking our film, Memory, The Origins of Alien, at Sundance.
We are so excited to work with the Legion on this movie.
What it is that you guys do that's so special is you connect with fans. And that's meaningful to us and for filmmakers and for films to be able to find an audience.